Welcome to the Makeaway Podcast, where we believe there is God-given greatness in each and every one of us. We're on a mission to help you identify, harness, and amplify that greatness in you, starting by living out ours. Hello, friends. It's Tay here for our very first ever solo episode. And today, I'm going to be really honest. I'm not entirely sure what direction this is going to go. You know what? We might be here for 3 minutes. We might be here for 50. Knowing myself, it's not going to be 3 minutes. Y'all know about me. Not known to be short of words. But the reason we're doing these solo episodes is we want to be able to provide with you just a little bit more of an intimate environment to get to know us individually. And what I love so much about having both Alyssa and I on the podcast is that we're very different. So we have a lot of similar interests, but we're very different people. And that's awesome because that means that we get to connect with more of you in different ways. So today you're going to get to know a little bit more about me, whether you like it or not. If you're still listening, I think I know which way you tend, but today I'm going to talk about an epiphany. My hair keeps getting stuck on the microphone. An epiphany that I had recently. So I want to start this by saying I had this discovery during just a really beautiful, life-giving conversation. And if you're someone like me, the thing that lights my soul on fire and that refuels me, fills me up emotionally and spiritually, which is why we have a podcast, by the way, is having really deep, intense conversations. This is something that, God bless my husband's heart, but probably drives him nuts, because we'll go to friends' houses or be at events, and by the end of the night, everyone's had a little bit to drink, and that's when it gets real emotional. And I just like to not add fuel to the fire, but basically I'm gonna ask you really deep questions, and I'm gonna want to know how are you really, not oh, how's work, and I want to what in your job is challenging you today, because and not with everyone, I mean there's certain people, but there's so much just fruit that comes from those conversations so often, and I love them. And so this is your sign to go meet up with someone who is that person for you and just have a really good life conversation. And make sure that you have those friends in your life. I have this relationship that's been a few years in the making, and it was someone who at first I just looked up to and admired and just tried to get in the room with constantly. And now that person is just a really important part of my development, and they speak into my life in a very honest and direct and challenging way, because they've earned the emotional equity with me to be able to do that. So I've kind of given the green light, and that's been reciprocated. But I know when I sit down with this person, unless we're let's not talk about anything serious, we just need to have a drink and have fun. There's definitely those days when those are necessary, but I went into it saying, I need to discuss something, can you give me some time? So I set the standard, so they knew it was something deep. And the conversation didn't go the way I thought it would at all. It was so much better. But as we were talking, I was talking about this piece of discontent that I felt, frankly. I've had to fight this feeling of discontent. There was all these beautiful things are happening, but there was just something wasn't right. Something was missing. Something was off. And so we were talking about fulfillment. And if you're listening to this and you've already listened to our life update episode, or if you haven't, go back and listen, because we've had a few things change. But I was talking to him and I was like, hey, I'm going to shift some things in my life because I just think I'll be more fulfilled. I'm a creative. I need to create. this is my favorite part of my week, getting to have these conversations and getting to be creative. And I need more of that in my life. If I can make money doing it, amazing, but I need to just make the time to do it. And so I'm going to. And at the same time, I'm going to contribute and I'm going to serve people while I do it. And so because it was an emotionally safe space, that's not how I articulated it. It was a little bit of a, like an early midlife crisis. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life and blah, 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 and I'm crying and whining. And he's like, you could change to 1,000,000 jobs and you're never going to be content unless you satisfy these 5 things. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm listening. And we're both quite certain these items come from none other than Tony Robbins, who you know I love and adore. And it is the 5, I'm going to butcher this, 5 agreements that we must have with ourself. And for those of you who value integrity and value living up to your highest potential, this is really going to resonate. But until we can satisfy these inner conflicts, it doesn't matter what the external circumstances of our lives are, we're never going to be content. And so he read these 5 to me. It's do my best, no more, no less. Be impeccable with my word to myself and to others. Don't take anything personally. That one's hard. And this one's even harder. Don't make assumptions. How often are we assuming what other people's thoughts and feelings of us are? So often. Boy, that's a whole episode. And finally, have grace for yourself. And he said, if you can focus on accomplishing nothing else, but making sure when you get to the end of this day that you can say that you did these 5 things to the best of your ability. And maybe if you didn't, that's where number 5 comes in. Have grace for yourself. But this is, it's the filler of fulfillment. That was weird. Like if you're looking for fulfillment, these are pillars and agreements with yourself that I fully believe will change your life. And so that was really beautiful. And that's some space I've been spending time in, is not, did I sell this house or did I do XYZ? It's just keeping these really simple, but really important promises to myself and to the people in my life. And the real kicker, and where I'll close with, is this last one. And he said, I added this other one. So what's one more that you can do? Like, what's one more? What's one more thing that you need to do in your life? And it fell out of my mouth. And I said, I need to do what Taylor wants to do. And it was one of those moments where I said it out loud, but I didn't realize what it really meant until I did. And I realized that for most of my life, for reasons we'll dive into another day, I am always looking to what other people want from me, to what I believe that other people expect from me. I'm assuming, and then on the other side of that is I'm taking personally their response or their lack of response. And so when I make a decision, like I want to shift potentially my career, I'm not even thinking about what I want. My first reflections go to, what is so-and-so in the industry going to think of me? What is X, like, oh no, what are they going to say? And my question the realization that this internal reflection that I have is, girl, when's the last time you did what you want to do? And I almost couldn't even answer, what do you want? Nothing else, clear everything else out. What do you want? And what would you do if nothing stood in your way? And it brought me to tears. Because one, I realized that I just wasn't caring about myself. That I was constantly putting other people above myself. And not even my own happiness, not my own selfish desire. It's just I literally wasn't considering. What would Taylor think? What do I think? What do I want? Because when it's all said and done, I'm the only one that genuinely matters. I am stuck with my own self and my own head and my own either pride or shame of myself, and that's the one that I have to live with, and that I feel like we've got to, if you're someone who struggles with people pleasing, and this typically comes from a place of, lack of nourishing as a child. I've talked a little bit about my trauma, early life trauma, and I lacked a lot of love and not nourishing. What's the word? Oh, give me a second. Nope. Can't think of it. It'll come to me. Nurturing. There it is. Lack of nurturing as a child. And by the way, this is not my parents today. This is my mom, my biological mom, who passed when I was 7, and my stepdad, who was raising me at the time. But I lacked a lot of nurturing. And so very basically, the behavior that has put into me is that I need this love, and I desire this love and affection and affirmation from people to a very unhealthy level. And so that's something I'm working on, but I really recognize that, and I didn't until this moment realize how deeply it had gotten until I realized that man, I'm just not asking myself, what do I want? So that's something that I'm working on, is making decisions, whether it's, I just said a really big no to someone, and I've never felt better about it. I just reflected internally, and I couldn't even give the reasons. I just knew it was a no, and I told that person no, and I believe it's gonna set a trajectory and open doors that my no is gonna make a way for a lot of other people's yeses, and that it's gonna be good because I trusted myself, I trusted my gut, I trusted my intuition, and regardless of the reasons, I finally asked myself, what do you want? And I heard myself for the first time in months say, I don't want to do this. And it felt so good, guys. So right now I'm in a season where I'm just asking, what do I want? And so if you're someone who, I know a lot of you mamas can probably resonate with this, and I don't have kiddos on this earth right now, and I'm sure I'll feel this exponentially, but as someone who runs a business and provides a service, there is always a lot of need. So I get that emotion of people constantly needing you. And when you're, maybe not the head of the household, that's the word, but as women, we tend to nurture and care for our homes. And so there's a lot of needs. And I need to do this. I got to do this. I got to take care of the house. I got to get the groceries. I got to feed my husband and my family. We got to do all these things, right? And we get very lost in that. So I just want to challenge you guys today to ask, what do I want? And it can be really little. I want a bath right now. I don't want to go fold laundry. Go give yourself that bath. Oh, I can't wait to have a bathtub, by the way. And yeah, that's what I got for you. It's been just a really beautiful discovery. I'm so excited to see what else comes from it. I hope this resonated with you today. That's all I'm going to chat about with y'all on this particular episode. I can't wait to share in the future some success stories and just learning that a lot, because it is very new. But I'll provide a graphic when I post this episode of these 5 pillars, but I want to read them one last time. Do my best, no more, no less. Be impeccable with my word to myself and to others. It's integrity. Don't take anything personally. It's so hard. And even harder is don't make assumptions. And guys, maybe even the number one is have grace for yourself. Be patient. This will be a process that will take time to adjust and to change. And then ask yourself, what's that last one? What do I need? And it might be like mine, just do what I want to do. Or it might be something else, but let me know what they are. Share them, DM me, comment on this episode once it gets launched, whatever it is. I would love to hear what's going on with you and if this was helpful. And as always, our goal is just always to bring value to anything we're putting out there. So I hope that this resonated with you. If it didn't, that's all right. And maybe it will at a different point in your life, but just want to say thanks as always for hanging, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to do what Taylor wants to do, and I'm excited about it, and I'll see y'all next week on